What's up, Infected, and welcome to the Quarantine. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a game by the name of Laboratory Mayhem. Now, Laboratory Mayhem is a two-player competitive card game that recently got funded on Kickstarter. In Laboratory Mayhem, the players are rival alchemists that have shops set up in the same marketplace. So rather than just trying to outsell each other, you guys are trying to physically destroy each other's alchemy or alchemy station. I don't really know what you would call it, but you're trying to physically destroy them so you will be the only alchemy shop in the city. And that's basically the best way I could think to describe the game. It does have a few interesting mechanics, and I do also have to state that everything you see here and what I was given is a Kickstarter prototype, so the artwork in the final product will most likely be much better. So let's go over to the overview, shall we? The player's ultimate goal is to destroy all of the cards in their opponent's deck and destroy all of the rooms that they may have set up, and when that is done, they will be declared the victor. So in order to do this, the players will be drawing a hand of cards, and then at the beginning of each turn, as a normal deck builder or a normal card game, you will be drawing a card, but then you have to draw a card and discard a card, which opens up for a couple of the unique things that the game does. Now, during your turn, there are resources on the cards up here that are required, but then you also have resources that are generated. So on your turn, you can set down one card face down to be a room, and then you can take cards from the discard pile and put them upside down to generate the resource in that room. Or you can also put a card from your hand into a room as well. So once that's there, this generates a purple and a yellow. So I would be able to play, for example, this, because it requires a purple and then a junk, which is basically whatever. So then I would take this, and then I would play this down here. Now this is a nexus, so it would go over here. So you have varying different types of cards. You have nexus, you have spell bombs, you have servants, among other cards. And you're going to be summoning servants out on the field, and you're going to be attacking your opponent and back and forth. Now, your monsters have several different stats. You have, this is how much damage that they do to the deck. This is how much damage they do to another servant. This is how much damage they mitigate, and this is how much how much health they have. And then, of course, any special abilities. So if my opponent has a couple rooms out here and their deck, and I attack with this here, he would then get to block with any monsters he has, and if he can't, whatever is here, he will lose that many cards into a discard pile, which then of course opens up room for him to then use into his rooms later to try to summon more things. Now, this is going to go back and forth until, as I mentioned, these cards are all removed, and then I would attack this room to destroy it, and then maybe with another creature I would tap this one here to destroy this one. Once that is done, I am now the victor because I've completely decimated the rival alchemist. Alright, Laboratory Mayhem. Before I get started, I probably need to mention that this review is based solely on a single dual deck, which has two pre-built decks that are meant to fight against each other. So from what I understand, the sell model of this game is going to be where, like, you buy decks, they're just going to come out with new decks, and then you can use those and create your own decks. So there's like a weird like LCG hybrid kind of system. I'm not 100% sure how their sale system's going to go, but they talked about deck building and they talked about tournaments. So there's that. So just know that this review is based 100% on the fact that I just played with two pre-built decks that are meant to duel against each other. So I'm first going to start off with the mechanics of this game are incredible. I love the mechanics of this game. The fact that a card has multiple uses. You don't need this card anymore, toss it down as a room, or maybe it generates a lot of resources. Cool, throw it on your room upside down for resources, but you know, just know that that card is gone now. And then the fact that when you're getting attacked, cards are being milled from your deck, but that's just giving you more fodder to then put into your room to then summon things. And it's a really cool system. I actually thoroughly enjoy that. Any game that has multiple use cards, I love, because that way you don't have useless cards. Every card can do something depending on the situation, and that's really cool. The problem, however, with this game is it's got this really cool underlying system, but the game is not very fun. I'll put it plainly. Everybody that I played this with said the game was very boring and it just wasn't a lot of fun. On top of that, the game, from what the 2 starter decks that I have, not even close to balanced at all. It's basically a rush deck versus slow, big stompy creatures. So at any point in the game, your opponent's gonna outnumber you 6-1. You're gonna have one super strong monster, but they're gonna have a ton of small monsters. And the way the game works is your creatures can only block 1 for 1, or you can block multiple to block 1 monster. But that's pretty much how that works. So the horde mentality is definitely going to win, hands down, every time, because you're going to attack me, or maybe you're going to have 6 creatures on the field, and I have one that's got like 3 or 4 health, and all your guys have 1. You attack my guy with 3 things to kill it. Yeah, I kill yours, no big deal. But then now, like, your extra 2 or 3 get through, and then that horde deck just spits out tokens constantly. So I fail to see how the game is remotely close to balanced. And the reason why I'm kind of drilling that home is in their Kickstarter video, they talk about how balanced the game is, and that every tournament a different deck wins, and yada yada yada. And to be 100% honest, everybody that I played this with, whoever played the horde deck, won every time. And not even like close. I think scratch that. There was one time that the stompy player got close to winning, but they still lost. And I fail to see how the game is remotely close to balanced. Maybe deck building fixes it, which is completely possible. Overall, I cannot recommend Laboratory Mayhem. The game has the mechanics, but they're executed very, very poorly. That mixed with the terrible imbalance between the types of decks, it seems. Even just kind of thinking about it, I don't know how deck building would really work very well unless everybody just kind of goes horde, because that's just kind of how the game is played. Whoever's got the more creatures on the field is probably going to win, because you can't block all of them. And that's kind of a bummer, because again, the mechanics of the game are really cool. So that is my final recommendation for the game. I cannot recommend it in the slightest. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time in the Kwarenteen.